My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Hello there and welcome back to This Song Is Yours. I'm Simon Fink, your host, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for episode 319. We're wrapping up our podcast episode for the year this week with our good friends at Heaps Good Festival. They're taking the festival across our fair country this summer with shows in Adelaide and in Melbourne. They're also hosting a special set of shows in Brisbane at the Fortitude Music Hall with the lineup across 2 days consisting of artists such as the Divulges, Declan McKenna, our friend Holly Humberstone, and our guest today, Foals. Forever an Aussie festival favourite, Foals joins us today for what we're dubbing Heaps Good Chats. We're going to chat to artists from the lineup about their own festival experiences, whether that be the first music festival that they ever attended, dream ones that they'd love to see one day, or their key festival moments here in Australia. We'll be chatting to them and seeing what punters across the summer have in store. Today, Jimmy from Foals joins us on the pod to talk about his first festival experience and how it ended up playing out. He talks us through one of his favourite festival experiences, which involves Radiohead. We won't kind of give away too much, but it is a gorgeous story. And Jimmy also divulges what Aussie fans can expect from Heaps Good Festival in January. Now, tickets to both Heaps Good Festival and the special set of shows at the Fortitude Music Hall can be found within today's show notes. And we also want to say a massive thank you to Mon and Layla from Scrabble PR for their help with today's episode. Before we embark on this conversation with Jimmy, please make sure you subscribe to This Song Is Yours on your preferred podcast platform. Stay tuned for our latest episodes by following us on social media. All details can be found in the show notes for today's episode. So let's get into our Heaps Good Chat with Jimmy Smith from Foals. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Jimmy Smith from Foals. Jimmy, hello. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good, man. I'm really good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for joining us today for one of our Heaps Good Chats about the Heaps Good Festival coming up in January.
Yeah.
I very much appreciate you coming on to the chat today. It is an incredibly exciting time because I know there's a lot of people excited to see Foals back in Australia. Might be a bit of a silly question because I know you guys have been here plenty of times, but are you excited to come back and play for some Aussie audiences?
Yeah, we are. I mean, like you said, it's been a little while. And again, like with everybody, COVID kind of spanned our plans for, for coming over to Australia. And then unfortunately in the kind of reshuffle of our tour, it kind of, unfortunately didn't really happen up until now. So it's great. And it's actually going to be the end of the tour as well. So it's kind of cool to end it in Australia finally.
Well, hopefully, and I know that crowds are very excited to see you, so I'm sure that there's going to be hopefully a lovely send-off to the end of this touring cycle and this record.
I think so. I think there really will be, yeah.
On the Heaps Good lineup, we have yourself, we have Flume, the Avalanches, I believe there's Griff and Holly Humberstone and a bunch more as well that I'm not forgetting, but obviously can't name every single name on the lineup. Are there many acts from Heaps Good that you're excited to kind of check out and see while touring around the country?
Yes, sure. I've just forgotten everybody you just said. Oh, I'm really sorry. I remember you said Holly Humberston. Mm-hmm. That would be good because I met a friend of hers who plays with that guy Sam Fender, and it was cool. And they were like making music together, I think. And he said it was really good, so that would be cool to check out. Flume would be good to check out. Oh yeah, the Avalanches, of course. Yes, I think that's the one on the lineup that I'm most excited about because I've never seen them and they're kind of mythical, and I wonder what it's going to be like. And I've got a friend who happens to be Australian, who's a very, very big Avalanches fan. So he kind of got me excited about that.
Having they recently, not recently, a year or so, toured Australia for the first time in a very long time, and I think the word that you used, mythical, is a very good describing word for their live show and their general aura. So I know there's a lot of people excited about seeing them as well. So fantastic picks.
Yeah. It's like spotting a rare beast in the wild.
Yes, exactly. For part of our Heaps Good Chats, what we're wanting to do is kind of chat to people about some of their experiences with festivals and, some of the best that they've seen, some of the, maybe not the worst that they've seen, but most unique experiences, we might frame it. Do you remember your first festival experience, maybe as a punter, before we get to as a band?
Well, my first festival experience was actually a mixture of the two already, because I had a school band with Walter, the now returned bass player of Foals, and it was called Face Meets Grill, and we played. There was this festival in Oxfordshire called Truck Festival, and it was run by some friends of ours and this band who were called Gold Rush, who were we all kind of looked up to when we were a bit younger. They were kind of they'd toured America and stuff. so anyway, they ran this festival, and so we went as punters. In fact, we were working there as well. I think I was working on the desk, checking bands in when they came in their buses, with their vans. It wasn't that big. And so we played there. And we were all really nauseous, and we weren't sure, pre-show, we weren't sure whether it was actual legitimate food poisoning from something at the festival, because catering, the food back then wasn't great, and or whether it was nerves. And I think it was nerves. So we all had to carry plastic bags on stage with us and have it by our feet just in case. But so it was cool. So that was my first festival experience. So it was all combined.
I feel like you've done a very good job. You've played at the festival. You've worked as not admin, but you've covered all bases.
Fully covered.
Yeah,
fully covered that festival. And I also fainted for the first time at that festival.
Oh.
I remember probably the next day queuing to get a bacon sandwich in the morning. I fainted, and it was really scary.
That's very fair. I can appreciate that's probably, especially after you've played and the nerves have died down, that's probably not what you want to have the next day at a festival.
Yeah, well, I think we had quite a victorious night after the show, because also, for some bizarre reason, loads of people showed up. There was a queue around the block to watch us, and I think we were convinced it was a mix-up on the lineup, because no one had heard of us at all. Anyway, that was it.
I absolutely love that. In terms of for Foals, is there a festival experience anywhere in the world that kind of stands out as maybe either your favourite or one that is just particularly ingrained in your memory?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, there's been actually a couple of real big ones in the last 2 years of touring. Certainly Glastonbury last year for us. Mm-hmm. And Glastonbury's always top dog for us Brits.
Yeah.
It's changing a bit, whatever. It's it will never be as cool as it was. But it's still, I think, the best festival in the world. Certainly the biggest, pretty much. And then we did Fuji Rock in Japan this summer. I think that was this summer. Oh, my God. Yeah, it was this summer. My post-COVID sense of time is all over the place. Then that was amazing, because we had Fuji Rock, and we played the main stage before Jack White, and we played that festival quite a few times before, and we'd travel. You always have to travel so far to get there, and you're always a bit broken with the jet lag. And I remember the last time we played the main stage, we played before Bjork, and it was just raining, and everyone just had umbrellas up, so we just played to this armored audience of umbrella. I mean, it was talking about the absolute vibeless crowd. It wasn't their fault. It was a tropical storm.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, this year we were vindicated, and it was a beautiful, clear night. and it was lovely weather, and it was a really big audience, and we played really well, and we even trended on Japanese Twitter.
Awesome.
So so that was good. And then there's so many in the past. I could rattle on all day about different festivals, but I think like some of the most memorable ones usually are like location based for me. If it's like a stunning location, like there's one called like Hove, I think they say Hoover festival in Norway, and that's like in a forest, and and it's like on a fjord, and they take you fishing, and you catch like mackerel, and then they like radio ahead, and there's someone like fires up the barbecue, and then you eat like fresh mackerel for dinner before you play and stuff like that. And then the sun never went down really because it was in the summer. No, it was cool. I probably like overly romanticized it in my head over the years, and like to cut out all the people puking and doing all the obscene stuff everywhere. But yeah,
I can appreciate that though. I think that you do kind of forget some of the less dream-like qualities of the festival to remember the nice bits, the ones that really stick with you.
I think the smells fade away.
Yes. Thank God.
Thanks, sweet God.
I know that Foals obviously has had a history with Australia and our festivals as well. I did have a look back kind of through the years, and I think that you guys, you've done Foals, you're about to do Heaps Good, Splendour, you've done I think twice, and I think
maybe more than that, 3 times I think. Because we were there when it was at the old jazz grounds.
Oh yes, okay. So
it's a bit of nerdery. It moved grounds at some point. Anyway.
Yes, I might have miscounted one. I think you also happened to be just before it ended one of our favourite festivals. One of the most beloved Australian festivals was Big Day Out. Before that ended, I was curious whether you have any key Australian festival memories or anything that kind of sticks out in the memory.
The most powerful designer drugs are the digital ones we use daily. And we get high off them. One touch, tap, like, scroll at a time. Just like tech creators want us to. Use digital without digital using you. Learn more at sync.ithra.com.
If you're taking care of a senior loved one, then it can be hard. Remember, it's okay to ask for help. There's a reason why 29 million families have turned to Care.com. Experienced senior caregivers can help with everything from meal prep to taking your loved one to doctor's appointments. And every caregiver you hire is background checked. So important for peace of mind. Find full-time, part-time, or even occasional help that fits your family's schedule and budget. Get the support you need with Care.com.
Well, yeah. I think still our favourite one we ever did was the Laneways, like festival tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember what year that was to save my life. I'm going to have a punt and say it was 2011 or something like that.
I will agree with you regardless. We'll go. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever. I think it was around about the second album tour. And it was an unbelievable stacked, like indie dance kind of psyche lineup. And it was like all our favourite bands were playing, like Warpaint, Deer Hunter, Les Savvy Fav, I think. I mean, God, like just everybody, Blonde Redhead. And
yes.
And we were all just on tour together. And it was honestly felt like the closest you'll ever get to something like out of the 70s or 60s. Like you hear about those tours on trains and stuff. It was a bit like that, in a sort of more PC, but certainly slightly more PC version.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember like one flight, like from, I guess it was from Adelaide to Perth, and the whole plane was just bands. It was just the entire festival lineup. It was really cool. Oh yeah, LCD Sound System were there. Everybody.
I think you might be right. I think that was around 2011 because that sounds the Deer Hunter and Warpaint combination, and Foals now makes me think that it was that year. So
and Cut Copy were headlining, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And they had an interesting stage set up, which I think I'd love to meet them again and ask them how they feel about it retrospectively. But they had this big door. They had this big door on stage, and they were like, I think I watched them one day, and I didn't watch them from if you don't watch that show from dead on center, you can see them all waiting behind the door, so it kind of loses it. I lost anyway. I think I talked to one of them afterwards, and they were like, "Oh my god, this door! We've just been carried." Like, it seemed like a good idea at the time. We've just, like, it's costing a fortune, and it just doesn't look that good. And, so I remember that was always quite funny to see. They tried to, like, make it better as the tour went on. And I really I admired them for doing it, for sticking with it.
100%. I think there's the cut copy door. Who was it? I think many years ago there was Beck had those giant puppets at festivals that kind of like in some form of meeting, it would have seemed like such a brilliant idea. And I'm sure for one or two it did seem brilliant, but I think there was even an interview with him where saying a similar thing, that the logistics of carting around giant puppets or a giant door does take its toll.
It certainly does, yeah. Financially, certainly.
For yourself and for Foals, is there a festival yet that you haven't kind of conquered and would love to play or kind of attend?
Yeah, definitely. Well, we want to do another one in Greece because Yanis is Greek. And we played one years ago and it was awful and like Yanis had got his dad down and was like, "Okay, Dad," like his dad had come from like the island and was like, "Okay, here's the show." And the stage setup was like facing sort of horizontal across this hill. But we played for like 10 minutes to nobody and then like just quickly realised Gogol Bordello, that band, I don't know if you remember them. They were like a kind of folk sort of, God knows, they were with Eugene Hutz was the singer.
Like a freak folk kind of.
Sort of, yeah. Exactly. Turns out they're pretty massive in Greece, and the crowd was so big that it engulfed our stage. So we were just playing in Gogol Bordello's crowd. And I remember Yanis's dad being like, "Is that it?"
Oh, no.
Luckily, he's been vindicated too. But since then. But yeah, I like to play Greece. I like to play Exit Festival. Where is it? I can't remember where that is. Somewhere in Europe. That's supposed to be really good. Where else is there? I don't know. Somewhere like... Is there one in the Caribbean?
I'm sure we can find one. If not, we could possibly start one. Yeah.
We could start one. We could do like an indie firefest, something like that.
That sounds... We'll get the people from Laneway to get onto it and build a similar lineup to that 2011 one, and then just have it to a Heaps Good International.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll lay the groundwork. I'll grease some palms when I'm over there.
That sounds good. I do want to talk about very quickly the latest record, Life Is Yours. Sorry, I know there's a lot of Australian fans who absolutely love this record in terms of what they can expect from the Foals live show over the summer. What are we expecting? What are we going to see when you're here in Australia?
Well, you'll see. Well, I mean, most of the shows, in fact, almost all of them are festival shows, I think. So it'll be like a festival set, which means that you'll get a nice mix of everything. Hopefully, it's where we try our best to balance all the albums out. There'll probably be like a few more Life Is Yours cuts than any other record, just because it's the tail end of that tour. And luckily, the good thing about being at the end of a world tour, even though we've had like a month off before we get there, which actually is probably pretty good, is that we've had like 2 years to craft a set list now that we know is like pretty like wham bam, thank you ma'am. And we played like Reading and Festival. We've had some big shows to test it at, and it's worked. So I think we're coming in, in really good condition.
I absolutely love that. I'm very, very excited to see you guys.
Some of us are even flying in early to beat the jet lag, so we're fighting fit.
Smart, very smart.
Yeah.
Jimmy, what I was hoping to kind of end on today, I know we've spoken about favourite festivals. Is there one festival set, maybe one particular artist at a festival that stands out in your memory as a favourite, as like a dreamlike kind of apparition?
Yeah. Yes, there's a few. I'm just trying to think. The one that popped immediately into my head and happens to be my favourite band, which is good, is I don't know if it's like my favourite festival memory of all time, unfortunately, when you blend like work and
Of course.
or like playing in a band and festivals, it all gets like they lose their innocence a little bit, and all the memories blur together. But I remember seeing in Montreal at Osheaga Festival a few years ago, Radiohead were playing, and it was again like a perfect night, and it was like a sort of like natural amphitheater kind of crowd thing, so it looked really cool. Anyway, they were having a good show, and then they played Idiotech, and it fell apart in the middle. It completely fell to pieces. Which I think happens every now and then, because I think they're using like quite old analog gear, which I think has to be actually like timed by a human, or it just goes out. Yeah, it's fair enough, and I really like that they still stick with that. By the way, I think that's awesome, and this is testament to why that's a good thing to do. Is if you're good enough. Anyway, I think it was Ed or one of the members like saw that it was an absolute car crash moment. Right at like the apex of the song, so he did something, or someone did something really cool, like a really awesome loop that kind of like took over, and then they bought somebody enough time to get the thing back on the rail, and they brought it back in, and it to like the most almighty climax. And I swear to God, you could see the ripple go across the crowd, like it was like an energy blast or something. Like it was crazy, and it was just like, because the whole crowd was like starting to be like, oh no, like it's a disaster. And then just the relief, maybe it was just like a wave of relief that like Radiohead hadn't fallen flat on their faces. Anyway, they turned it was absolutely amazing. And then from then on, the gig was incredible. And then that was basically the turning point. And after that, they just played all the hits, which was great.
I absolutely loved that.
So that was a good one.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
That I'd even the hairs on my arm are standing up right now. That sounds so cool.
Yeah, no, it was that. It literally that like that. It was really quite something. You know, and also I love watching shows after we've played a show, because like there's like a massive sense of relief, especially if it went well. And and also it kind of heightens everything. You're just like, especially if it's on the same stage, you're just like, holy shit, like I was just there and now it's this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's really special. Yeah.
I think that's I think you've picked, again, I absolutely love that story. I've got no comment, speechless.
Cool.
Jimmy, thank you very much for coming onto the pod and for having a Heaps Good Chat with us. We're very excited to see you in Australia not next month, in January for Heaps Good. But thank you again.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, can't wait to get over there. Not long now.
The most powerful designer drugs are the digital ones we use daily. And we get high off them. When touch, tap, like, scroll at a time. You know, just like tech creators want us to. Use digital without digital using you. Learn more at sync.ithra.com.